Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle and this is Michelle Reads YA. It has been a while. I decided to take a hiatus and I'm back. So we're just going to pretend that I never took a hiatus and I'm just gonna jump right into my April wrap up. So in April, I read 11 books and I am a super big fan of audiobooks now. So most of these I have read via audiobook and they're great. So let's get started. For context, one of the books that I read in March was Vampire Academy. I started a reread of that and I listened to an audiobook. That was March. So in April, I listened to Frostbite by Rochelle Mead. This is the second in the Vampire Academy series. This follows Rose and Dimitri and Alyssa in their adventures at St. Vladimir's. I listened to this on audiobook and it was a different narrator than Vampire Academy, which was interesting. So I'm really glad that I read these the first time, like physically, because that really threw me off. Also, in the book, Dimitri is Russian and all of a sudden he was not Russian. This narrator was not doing any voices really. Everyone had the same voice. We're introduced to Adrian in Frostbite and he had the same voice as Dimitri, so when everyone was talking it was super confusing. So I actually don't recommend these audiobooks at all. So if you are looking to start this great series, this is a great series, I would stick with physically reading them because I don't think the audiobooks were good at all. Anyway, I gave Frostbite 4 stars. This was a reread I really enjoyed despite the whole audiobook fiasco. I really enjoyed my reread. I forgot about some things that happened, but it was real good. 4 stars. Don't listen to the audiobook. The next book that I read was The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg. Rothenberg, I was right. Okay. So this was our book club pick for April and I DNF'd it 200 pages in. So the premise of this book is that basically it's Westworld and Disneyland. That is how my fellow book clubian described it, and she's 100% correct. If you have seen the first season of Westworld, it's amazing, and everyone knows Disney World, but it's basically robots who are princesses, and there's a murder, and other things happen. I can't tell you 100% because I did not finish it, and I don't rate not finished books, but I do add them to my read list because I read it. I don't have much to say about it. It was fine. It was not for me. We are doing books in each category, so this was our sci-fi book and I knew I probably wasn't gonna like it and I didn't like it and most people in the club didn't like it. So, not for me. The next book that I listened to was Shadow Kiss by Vampire Academy. This had the same narrator as Frostbite, so I didn't love it. This is still my favorite book in the Vampire Academy series. I can say that still. This is definitely the best one. There's something at the end that happens that is just crazy and so good. If you haven't read these books, you totally should. I know vampires are making a comeback, so I feel like this series is overlooked a lot and I would definitely read it. Spiritbound still is my favorite of the whole entire series, so I gave this 5 stars even though I still do not recommend the audiobook. And then I went straight into listening to Blood Promise in the Vampire Academy series. This had a completely different narrator than the other audiobooks. So this whole series is 6 books and there's 3 narrators. It's very confusing. I will say this narrator was the best one and she made Dimitri Russian and Adrian British and it was so confusing. But the last 3 books on audiobook were probably the best, except that they had sound effects in like the middle of an intense scene and I did not like that at all. I wish that that didn't happen, especially because I was listening to it in like earbuds and it scared the shit out of me. I'm not kidding. It just comes out of nowhere and it's so scary. I gave Blood Promise 4 stars. This one's okay. I really liked it the first time I read it, but looking back on it, it's not problematic, but things happen that like aren't my favorite, so. And then the next book that I read was Beach Read by Emily Henry. I read this because everyone and their brother on Goodreads gave this 5 stars, and I had an arc of it that I hadn't read and then I did read, and I will say that this was not my favorite. I'm actually starting to think that I don't like adult romance, because for me they're all the same, they're all angsty, and I like angst, but they're just, I don't know, they're predictable, they're stupid, I don't know. I don't know. Everyone gave it 5 stars and was praising it, and I only gave it 3 stars because it was predictable and cheesy and I didn't love it. I honestly don't think I like adult romance, which really sucks because I have a bunch of adult romance that I own. So I don't know. I just feel disappointed every time I read an adult romance. I feel like, yes, I'm gonna love this, I'm gonna give it 5 stars, and then it's mediocre for me, and that's how I felt about Beach Read. Beach Read is about two writers who go and they make a deal that they're gonna write in each other's genres, and whoever gets published first wins. And there's other stuff that happens, and I thought it was gonna be like a light and airy read, and it is like some dark shit in there, and that's not what I want in an adult romance book. Romance. I want romance, not dark shit. So 3 stars. Did not love. Super glad I didn't buy it. I had an e-arc. The next book that I listened to was Spirit Bound by Rochelle Mead. This is the 5th book in the Vampire Academy series. I gave this 4 stars. So this was the same narrator as Spirit Bound, and that's the best narrator, so it was fine. It had the weird music, which was not my favorite, but this overall is a good book. So yeah, I still recommend the Vampire Academy series. I would just physically read it. The next book that I read was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, and I read this for my May book club pick. This was our mystery book, and it was good. I ended up giving this 4 stars. This is my favorite book club book that we have read this year. I thought it was really good. I read it in like 2 days, and I don't read books that fast anymore, but it was amazing. Good writing. Lots of twists and turns. Basically, the premise of this is that this girl is doing a project for her senior year, and she is trying to solve a 5-year murder that has been solved, but she doesn't believe that the murderer is the one who really did it, so she's trying to go back and connect the dots, and it is really good. I gave it 4 stars. The only reason I gave it 4 stars instead of 5 is because there's one thing that happens that is super triggering for like a bunch of people. It didn't super bother me. I kind of saw it coming, but it definitely didn't need to happen, I don't think. And also, it takes place in Connecticut, I'm pretty sure, and the author is from England, and some of the language is wrong, and that kind of bothered me. Like, I would never say, yeah, I'm gonna go ring my husband. I would just say, yeah, I'm gonna call my husband. I'd never say ring. So that kind of took me out of the story, and I was like, this person is from England, isn't she? And I looked it up and she was. So it was just minor things for me, but it was really good. I can't wait to talk about it with my book club because I think a majority of us are going to like it, and it was a good mystery. I feel like there's not a lot of YA mysteries, and this one was a really solid one. Okay, the next arc that I read was Majesty by Catherine McGee. This is the American Royals #2. I got this and immediately read it, and I only gave it 3 stars. So this picks up immediately where American Royals ends with I'm not gonna spoil anything. Okay, but it picks up right where American Royals ends, which was really good. There's no like jump in anything. However, this just did nothing for me. I felt like all of the characters changed tremendously, and not in like a character growth kind of thing, and like they were completely different characters from when this book started to where last book started, and it had only been like a week since the last book ended where this one started. I didn't love that. I don't think it was as captivating as American Royals was, and overall it was fine. Like 3 stars is not bad, but it wasn't something I feel like I'm going to buy for myself when it comes out at the end of this year. So I'm glad I read it. It wasn't as good as American Royals. I gave it 3 stars. The next book that I read and DNF'd was Crave by Tracy Wolff. I actually didn't hear that this book was coming out at all. My friend, who is like not even a reader, was like, oh my god, are you gonna read this? Because it looks like a Twilight book. The cover, you see, it's very close to Twilight. I don't even remember how many pages I got on. Give me a second. I DNF'd 140 pages in, which is, I can't believe I got that far. This is a mix for me between Twilight and Fallen. If you haven't read Fallen, it's basically Twilight except with angels, and I didn't like it. And I did not like Crave. I thought the writing was atrocious. I don't know if that's harsh, but it was so bad. The writing was so mediocre and like super young, and it's a YA. I don't know. I had super high hopes for this because I was on a vampire train, and it just did not work for me, and the writing was so bad. So bad. It's supposed to be about vampires though, so if you're into that. And then I finished my reread of the Vampire Academy series with Last Sacrifice. I listened to this one on audiobook. It was good. I still think this is a solid series. I gave this 5 stars. I think it just wraps everything up nicely. I tried to read the Bloodline series, which is a spin-off of Vampire Academy, and I ended at the 2nd book because I just don't care about Adrian and Sydney, so I'm not gonna read it. But I know that Rose and Dimitri and all of them are in it, but I truly don't care. I think it should have ended here because it's such a solid conclusion, so I gave this 5 stars. And then the last book that I read for April was another reread, and I listened to an audiobook for the first time, and that is Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. I reread this because the prequel is coming out on the 19th, and I read Hunger Games last year, so I didn't feel like I needed to read it again. So I just picked up Catching Fire, and I listened to it, and I listened to the first narrator, whose name is Carolyn, and it was not good. I hated her voice. It was not, like, no emotion in the voice. So luckily, Lily from Lily Reads, I'll link her down below because you should subscribe to her, told me that there is a new narrator named Tatiana, and she is in Orphan Black, and she was much better. So I was able to listen to that, and this was amazing. This is still the best in the series. I don't care. The movie's amazing. This book is amazing. When something happened, I literally said fuck out loud. Like, I hadn't read this 3 times already. Like, I knew what was gonna happen, and when that part happened, I was still like blown away because it's so good. The narrator was amazing. Look for Tatiana. And it was just so good. So I gave this 5 stars. I'm really glad I started this reread before the prequel comes out. And I cannot wait for the prequel, even though it's snow. So we'll see how it goes. But 600 pages. So very excited. So that is everything that I read in April. I'm currently reading an arc of The Cousins by Karen M. McManus, and I'm literally 2 chapters in, so I have nothing to say about it yet, except that I started it. So that's it. I will see you in my next video. Thanks for watching this one. Bye!